Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here with us on this Monday morning. February moving along. Today's February the 6th. Let's take a look at our weather, brought to us by Drew Pollard's company, Gulf Coast Air Conditioning, taking care of our everyday comfort needs. And speaking of comfort, how about today? High 72, low of 48. So, I mean, what a perfect day today. And we're going to look like have a couple of really good days after some storms and fog and all that. So, really looks good. Might have some rain later on this week, but hopefully the river is going to go down. We don't do the river on Monday. We do our Monday moon phase. And what we have tonight is a full moon, so I know it's going to be sort of. We haven't been able to keep up with the moon last week with all the fog and everything, but it surprised me as I started looking. Yeah, it's going to be a full moon tonight, so enjoy it if you can. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. Today, like I say, it's February 6th. Decent tides today, tomorrow, and then it's going to start waning on out. We have like 3 or 4 days of very low tide, not much movement at all, and it's going to be a situation where we're going to depend on the wind as far as you getting the flow. Speaking of wind, the wind's going to be coming out of east-northeast at about 8. The tide, we're looking at low tide will be at 7:42 this morning and coming all the way in to about 10:15 tonight. So take advantage of today's tide and then also tomorrow. But for the weekend, don't plan on doing any strong tidal fishing, but I'll plan on doing some fishing. Let's take a break and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. I enjoy talking. All you folks call me and text me and all that. I always enjoy a conversation. Sometimes they're short, sometimes we get into detail. I was talking to Ralph By from Youngstown, Ralph and Pearl By. Friday morning, we were talking about little signs of spring, and he was talking about his yard, and he had maple trees that sort of bud out. You know, he was surprised too. And he also, daffodils, his wife saw some daffodils budding out a little bit, so it's popping up all over. So if you have some pictures of some stuff around your place, just starting to bust out, go ahead and send those. That's really interesting. And speaking of pictures and all, take a look at this one. This is my buddy Jimmy Lumley. Now, this woodpecker, he's trying to picture this woodpecker. Now, I don't know if that woodpecker made that many holes in there. I don't know if it did or not, but anyway, Jimmy, that's a good picture. Woodpeckers are really very active in early spring. Okay, that's woodpecker there. This is just an old Jackie Wingate sent this. This is the old, for you folks up there around Lake Seminole, when Jack Wingate bought this building in 1959 and turned it into Wingate's Lunker Lodge, which became legendary as far as fish camps and all. This is where they had the very first Bass Masters tournament. It was on Lake Seminole. This was it in 1959. It was a landing there, old dirt landing and all, but anyway, I just wanted to share that with you folks up there in that neck of the woods. Now, let's get to the details. Well, I've talked about it 2 days, Thursday and Friday. I finally found the drawing, and let's try to explain what's going on now about speckled trout being closed. Now, you see the area. On the left side in yellow, that's a western panhandle, so that is closed. And on the right side is a Big Bend area. Speckled trout is open. But here we're going to zoom in and talk about the closed area, okay? All right there. See that dotted line? You see where the boat ramp is? If you went by just the county, by Gulf County and all, it would be the county line in the top right-hand corner is Gulf and Franklin, so you just can't say Gulf County, all of Gulf County, but they drew the line right there. That's sort of I wish they'd drawn the line over there on St. Vincent Island. It would have been a lot easier. But I understand where they're coming from. That, all the folks would go out there and then go into Apalachicola Bay and come back into here and at the landing. So that's the reason they did it. And I do understand that. So anyway, that's interesting on that. So it is closed at Indian Pass. Okay. This is Greg Boutwell. He actually went out on live tackle, went out 3 miles looking for flounder. Remember I was telling you last week on the Friday fishing report how they're catching the flounder? And he didn't have any luck. They had live shrimp and got some black snapper, but no flounder. But had a good evening. That's a good. Wasn't he really pretty there last week? That one, and then also the black snapper there. So Good fishing right there. Okay, you got to have a sense of humor sometimes on my show. Okay, stick with me. 5 aunts rented an apartment with 5 other aunts. Now they're tenants together. So I'm thinking about that. Gail, when I read that to her, she looks at me and shakes her head. But anyway, I love the sense of humor like that. So that start off our week on a Monday morning, funny one. We've talked about this before. I just wanted to show you a couple of them here, just a couple of them, how sportsmen, we as sportsmen, really, and putting limits on things with our game commissions and all. The whitetail deer in 1905, they estimated 500,000. Today there's like 32 million, and it comes from the protection they've been provided. Look at the turkeys in 1900, and then look at them in today. There was 100,000 in 1900 and 7 million today. And let me mention this too. I remember one of my favorite stories from growing up. My dad and my granddad were avid outdoorsmen, as I've talked about several times before. But they talked about the deer. That when Dad was growing up, in the 20s and 30s, there were just not very many deer. And the reason there were not very many deer, we talked about it his whole lifetime, and he was just thrilled as the older he got, the more deer he saw. But what it was, so many people were hunting the deer for meat. And they were trapping them, they were shooting them at night, and it was illegal, but they were not trying to break the law. They were literally trying to feed the family, especially during the Depression era. And I remember everything they could get. When they went coon hunting, they would shoot the coon out of the tree, and it was everything was for meat. Today we don't have to do that. We don't hunt for meat and we don't fish for meat. So anyway, just wanted to show that to you how it had come up there, and the rest of them on here is not that good. But anyway, I just want to show those two, the turkey and all. Okay, let me throw this out again now. This coming up Saturday, the Bonifay Holmes Creek Long Spurs, February the 11th. Okay. And it's going to be Bonifay at a K8, and get a hold, okay, right here. Here's the tickets. Matthew Grantham, there's the link right there. So if you can make it, go ahead and try to make it. All right, let's see. That's takes care of our pictures and announcements and all, trying to keep up with what's all going on. February usually a slow month, but a lot of stuff going on. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. I want to look at something now. The governor of Florida each year, by law, 30 days before the legislative session starts, he has to present a budget to the public. And I've pulled up what he presented, what Governor DeSantis presented as far as the fish and wildlife around Florida. And I found a list for it. I just want to share it with you because there's some pretty cool stuff. Anytime you get some money to the outdoors, it's good stuff. Okay, so here's the highlights basically. We'll go from the very top one, $2.6 million in new funding for non-native and wildlife eradication control. Okay, the second one, $1.4 million for Burmese python population control and assessment. Now, I still, it's almost on my bucket list now. I want to go down there and just check out and try to catch some of these pythons. That just sounds like fun. Even at my age, any of y'all want to go down there next year and let's just jump in a boat and go wading for these things? That don't sound like fun. Number 3, $16.9 million for 41 new law enforcement positions for patrol investigation. With our population increasing like it is, that's good right there. We need more outdoor people in law enforcement. And the fourth one, $8.4 million for boating access and boating improvement projects. And a lot of our boat ramps really need redoing and improvement. But now, with the cities and all charging for boat ramps, I don't know where all that money is going. Then the next one is $11.1 million for habitat restoration. Lord knows we need that. With much developing going on, we're losing habitat daily for our fish and game. Then $750,000 for focused on maintaining our reputation as advertising. Then $900,000 for manatee population assessment. Third from bottom, $750,000 for sea turtles, and then the next to last, $600,000. That's not very much money for artificial reefs. Most of that's done privately. The last one, my favorite. $7.8 million for land management, acquisitions, and improvement. So anytime that we can get more land for acquire land for the people like us. It's good. So I wish they can buy something every year because it's rapidly vanishing, and like you heard before, it ain't making it anymore. So that's good for that kind of stuff. Now, one of the things I run into a lot of viewers all over the place. I enjoy talking to them, and a lot of times it's impromptu, and sometimes people tell me what their favorite show they've seen on here, and I get a kick out of it. Mainly they're talking about the videos, and a lot of them are still talking about the possum. That time I caught that possum, he was clawing at me. In fact, I was at church the other day, and the Mike Pleasure, Mike Pleasure watches the show every morning, and Mike was talking about that was his favorite part. Favorite video. Laura McNeil Russell, talked to her a while back. Her favorite one was we were skinning a squirrel a long time ago in the early days. I was skinning a squirrel out, and Whitney up here, she about got sick, and Laura still remembers that. So a lot of favorite videos and all. But so if you have one, and I'm trying to find the one with us skinning the squirrel. I'd like to show that again. I'd pull up in some of the old ones, but I have saved all this stuff, and I thought it's somewhat organized, but you do 260 shows a year. You got to go through each year, and I can't remember what year it was. But anyway, we'll try to show that stuff. So with that being said, I always enjoy doing instructional kind, and in the early years I made one on how to throw a cast net, but I redid it after Hurricane Michael, how to throw a cast net, and the importance of learning how to do different things with a cast net. And I did it in the yard. So with spring coming up, trying to catch live bait, mud coming back in, I want to show this little 6-minute video on how to throw a cast net. I think you'll really enjoy it. So Jeff, let's go ahead and roll this video. We'll be back after the break. Okay, on how to throw a cast net or how to cast a net. Now let me preface this demonstration by first saying there are all kind of ways you can do it. If your grandpa showed you this or Uncle Joe showed you that, by all means do it that way. I'm basing mine on my teaching experience and teaching thousands of kids how to do this, and the simplest and easiest way for them to learn. I worked on all kind of ways and all, but this just turned out really good for the kids when they tried it. So this is a method I'm going to teach you. Okay. First of all, we keep them in 5-gallon buckets. We kept all our nets in 5-gallon buckets. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is make it up. Okay. So now, always put that on your wrist to make sure it's on there, because they do slip off. So people always ask, what size loop do you make when you start looping it? It doesn't really matter, just whatever you're comfortable with when you're just looping up the rope, okay? So now, you get at the top. Now, a couple of basic things here. This is a horn, okay? By the way, this is a handmade net by the one and only Bill McNeil, the St. Andrew Bay net maker from old school. I think he still makes some. If he does, you better get one. That's all I got to say. You got a good net here. You got the swivel. Now you want this swivel not be down in the neck. You want it up here, out of it. Okay, so it's going to be right there. So you're going to grab it with your left hand. So I got everything in my left hand. Okay, then let me kick the bucket. Gail's waiting for me to kick the bucket. Okay, so you're going to hold it out, and now you're going to hold it out in front of you. And you're going to go down, basically, and notice how I go down about a little bit below my waist right here, and I'm going to make one loop. And it's going to be according to the size of the net. If it's a big net, you might make 2 loops, okay? Once I do that, I'm going to hold it up, and on the lead line, okay, I'm going to find it halfway to the lead line, which would be about right here. I'm going to put this over my shoulder. I'll get enough back here that's going to stay. All right, now, the next step, you put your right leg out, okay, and then you come up underneath the net, and you can what I call scoop it, come up underneath the net, go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's about, basically you're getting about half the net. Usually 3 to 4 scoops, you got half the net. And then with that open hand, come up by your right leg and grab the part that you put over there on the right side of your leg, okay? Now what you're gonna do, okay, now I'm gonna rotate back, I'm gonna swivel my shoulders back, sort of hold it out from me. And just cast it like this. It's a simple cast.
It's very simple. Okay. Now practice doing it in the yard. This is what I do. I used to have a lot of pine trees before Hurricane Michael. I always get pine needles in it, but I don't worry about that anymore. All my pine trees are gone. So bring it back up, and when you pick it back up, always sort of make sure everything's coming in level, okay? Make sure everything's level and not tangled up any. And just hold it up. Okay, you do have a little pine needles in, but that's not gonna hurt anything. So, and then now, so practice over and over. Don't wear yourself out doing it. Then after you practice, go out the next day and do it again at a different angle. I don't want to get too complicated, but you can adjust your own throw according to the size of net you have. So you and your net are sort of a bond as to what you're going to do. This is a fairly heavy net. I've got a light net over here, and I have to really put a lot of oomph into it to get it spread out because it's a lot bigger net. So all different nets and all. So anyway, I hope this helps you. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to walk down to my dock and throw it off the water, okay? Okay, I'm going to walk out on the dock and just throw it one time just to sort of show you a longer version of it. But now I cannot walk very far out of my dock. If you look, it took a beating from Hurricane Sally, which was Category 2 over in the Alabama state line. That shows how much effect it can have. I lost a lot of boards. I got to redo my dock. So I'm gonna wait till maybe after Christmas, but I sure do miss it. But I can't walk out very far. Now when you finish, of course you're gonna wash it off good, but you wanna hang it up. You don't throw it back in the bucket. I got an old nail here. You just wanna hang it up so it'll dry out. Okay, the wind coming, it's pretty windy today, so it's gonna dry out pretty good. So let it dry out, and that's how you take care of it.
Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that. That's just something cool to do. The students enjoy learning that, and a lot of people learn how to do it, and it's something you can catch a bait with or catch a mullet with. It's not hard to do. So if you get a chance, give it a try. Talking about handmade nets, I mentioned Bill McNeil. He's passed away now, and that was his made that net for me. But I really don't know very many people still making them, and by hand, customized for you. So if you know of anyone in the Panhandle doing it, let me know, and I'll pass on the information, because I get asked that question quite a bit. So it's cool. You can buy them at the stores and all, but what they do when they customize, they measure your arm length and little things like that that make a difference. So check on that. Now, tomorrow, don't forget, it's going to be the redfish release, 15,000 redfish. Here's a little note here from Brett Martina. Brett is sort of the lead dog. Brett is sort of the lead dog in this as far as helping take care of everything. CCA, they started years ago, a couple of years ago, really not that long ago, releasing the redfish on the East Coast. They've released over 100-some thousand on the East Coast, and now finally they're getting over on the West Coast, thankfully. So here's where they're going to be tomorrow. It's going to be at 13-Mile Oyster House. Okay, look that up online. It's sort of, you go past St. Joe and on the way to Apalachicola on the back way. Here's a number if you want to talk. If you have any questions, it's going to be 9 a.m. Now this is Eastern time, 8 a.m. Central time. If you want to call Brett, it's 323-0124. So we plan on being there, Panhandle Outdoors. I'm going to interview Brett. We're going to Be 15,000 redfish fingerlings, and we're very excited about it. And it really, it's been long overdue. So we appreciate it. And basically what happened is they just had more CCA members on the East Coast than they did on the West Coast, and you know, they put more money in down there than we've been able to do here. So anyway, it's coming our way. It's a win-win for all of us. So, and that's a good place to put it. They've released some over in Choctaw Bay. I just don't know exactly where. But anyway, we're going to, hopefully the next target will be the St. Andrew Bay system, or maybe St. Joe Bay. That'd be cool. Okay, we're going to start. Now listen, I had a couple of calls last week. If you want to advertise on Panhandle Outdoors, touch base with me. We have 1 or 2 slots open. We stay pretty well full, we're thankful for. But we can try to work you in. And we can shoot a commercial. Jeff's really good about doing that kind of stuff. And as you can tell, I like these small business commercials that you see what kind of people advertise with us. So that's what keeps us on the air. And y'all been so loyal about trading with them, and we hear over and over again, from the mattresses to the tackle and eating seafood and all kind of stuff. So it's a win-win for everybody. Speaking of redfish, over the weekend, a guy posted that he went sight fishing for redfish and did real well. On these calm, late winter days like this, you can see really good for sight fishing for redfish. And he said it was just been a crystal clear water, especially last week and all. It was really good. So if you want to try some sight fishing, this is a good time to do it, because not a lot of people on the water and all the bay systems, a lot of, you know, this kind of winter weather, not a lot of people out there like you're going to see this spring and summer. We're just going to be all kind of people. So you can sight fish better now. So if you get a chance to give it a try, this would be the time of the year to do it, especially as we're getting going through February and early March to do that. So it's a lot of fun to do it. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. We appreciate the viewership. We have some guests coming on later, some good video coming on, some things we did this weekend. So y'all stay tuned. We appreciate the viewership. Do something good today for your fellow man. You have a great day. Enjoy our beautiful Panhandle Outdoors. God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.